I want you guys to imagine this. So you are building a model airplane. Okay, just like that one. Now, it's going to be like one of those really big, complicated boxes with all the tiny little pieces in the sprues you have to cut out, glue together, and you also got to paint it. But yeah, it takes a long time to do, but it turns out really nice. Now, imagine that you also have a younger sibling. There we go. Now, you told that younger sibling multiple times that they cannot touch that airplane because it is not a toy and they could break it. Now, you trust your sibling to a certain extent to listen to you, but one day you come back to your room and you realize that your younger sibling broke that airplane because they thought it could fly. Now, that would probably make you very angry at your sibling because you spent a long time making this. And it was a really amazing plane, and now it's just ruined. It probably hurt your relationship because you trusted them enough to follow your rule, but only to see them break it. Now, similarly, in the Garden of Eden, God placed Adam and Eve to watch over the entire garden. He said this in Genesis 2, verses 16 to 17. But the Lord God warned them, "You may freely eat the fruit of every tree in the garden, except the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. If you eat its fruit, you are sure to die." God only had one rule for them, and it was not to eat the forbidden fruit. Now, Adam and Eve followed this rule for some time until the serpent, which we know to be Satan, started to talk to Eve. And we can read about this conversation in Genesis chapter 3, verses 1 to 7. The serpent was the shrewdest of all the wild animals the Lord God had made. One day he asked the woman, "Did God say you must not eat the fruit from any of the trees in the garden?" "Of course we may eat from the trees in the garden," the woman replied. "It's only the fruit from the tree in the middle of the garden that we are not allowed to eat. God said, you must not eat it or even touch it. If you do, you will die." "You won't die," the serpent replied to the woman. "God knows that your eyes will be open as soon as you eat it, and you will be like God, knowing both good and evil." The woman was convinced. She saw the tree was beautiful and its fruit looked delicious, and she wanted the wisdom it would give her. So she took some of the fruit and ate it, then gave some to her husband who was with her, and he ate it too. At that moment, their eyes were open, and they suddenly felt shame at their nakedness. So they sewed fig leaves together to cover themselves. This was the fall, the very first sin that ever was committed. You see, sin isn't just another word for being bad or breaking the rules, but it is straying from God's plan, and by sinning, you are breaking your relationship with God. And what was the first thing that Adam and Eve felt after committing the sin? Shame. Now, soon after, God's presence found them and asked them why they were hiding. And in this moment, Adam and Eve revealed the sin they had committed. God knew what happened and asked them why. And Adam pinned the blame on Eve, while Eve pinned the blame on the serpent. And in this moment, God cast two curses. But notice, not on Adam and Eve, but on the serpent and on the ground.